it comes to Miss Universe scandals and all sorts of crazy things that have happened at Miss Universe, we all know the major ones, okay? We know about Miss Universe 2015. We know about Oksana, you know, being fired, basically. We know all of the surface level, top of the Miss Universe iceberg things. But today, I wanted to kind of come as a little Facebook memory reminder and slap you guys in the face with some things that happened that you might not have known about or have forgotten. The very first one is... Honestly, I don't think a lot of people will know about this. I think a lot of people who did know about this are probably like in a very like 60 or above age range right now. And that is about Miss Universe Nigeria basically passing out on stage in 1964 upon learning that she did not make the top 16 or 15. The 19-year-old salesgirl Edna Park was the very first Nigerian woman to represent Nigeria at Miss Universe, and she was so excited. She reportedly wrote in her diary that she thought she was going to place. Some even suggested that she thought she was going to win, poor thing. And then when it was time for the host to announce the top 15 on stage, she was not included, and she actually collapsed on stage. She was very distraught. She had to be carried off stage basically and was inconsolable for hours afterwards. Apparently things got so bad that she had to be administered sedatives by a physician and had to be kept overnight in hospital for observation. This is just actually a sad thing that happened, not necessarily a very scandalous thing, but oh my goodness. Another thing that happened very long ago that a lot of people might not know, because it is actually not that well documented, as is the case for many early Miss Universe editions, was the fact that in 1954, guys, in 1954, there was a tie between Miss USA and Miss Brazil for the title of Miss Universe. These women were the last two women standing on stage, and they had a tie, you know, Miss Grand International style. And oh my word, so the tiebreaker, guys, the tiebreaker was measuring these women's hips to see who had smaller hips. And because Miss USA, Miriam Stevenson, her hips were smaller than Miss Brazil's by 2 inches, she won Miss Universe. Imagine winning Miss Universe purely based on the fact that your opponent just has hips that measured like 2 inches bigger than yours. Miriam, actually, I think she really felt bad about this situation because she actually gave away the car that she had won from Miss Universe. She gave it to Miss Brazil. And I feel like that was such a nice gesture. But guys, oh my gosh, no wonder this thing is so buried. Because just imagine in today's day and age having a tie at an international pageant and the tiebreaker be measuring people's hips to see who's smaller or putting them on a scale. Just imagine. Okay, let's talk about something that has happened more recently, and that was the crowning confusion at Miss Universe 2013. So at Miss Universe 2013, the last women standing on stage were Venezuela and Spain. And the announcer, the host, who was supposed to be announcing the winner, was talking really fast. He was mentioning the first runner-up and her duties. So when it came time for him to say who the actual Miss Universe was, he said Venezuela, obviously. But there was such confusion between these two women. Keep in mind that their first language is not English. So it's understandable that when someone speaks really fast English and was talking about first runner-up like 2 seconds before mentioning the winner, it would be confusing as to, okay, who's actually now the winner and who's first runner-up. So when he said Venezuela, she and her counterpart, Miss Spain, didn't know whether Venezuela was now the first runner-up or the winner, and you can just tell that they were so confused, and none of them actually were allowed to get excited because they didn't know which one which was. And it's actually kind of funny because the only time that Venezuela actually realized that she was the new Miss Universe was when her counterpart was pulled aside, given flowers, and when Olivia Culpo, who was Miss Universe, approached her with the sash and the crown. Then only did she realize that she had won. This made for a really funny moment in Miss Universe history when the crowned Miss Universe only found out that she won like 15 seconds after everybody else had. At number 4, guys, this is actually really scandalous. There was a story about Miss Universe 2007 Riyo Mori from Japan being slapped by Miss Egypt 2008. Now, Inez Ligron, who was the Miss Universe Japan National Director, had a blog reportedly, but it seems to be now deleted because I could not find this blog for the life of me. Even in articles that did link and cite the blog has just disappeared. It's been deleted, whatever. Reportedly, in this blog, Miss Japan's national director stated that Riyo was slapped by Miss Egypt 2008 backstage at Miss Universe 2008 while they were getting ready for opening number because Riyo accidentally stepped on Miss Egypt's dress. And Miss Egypt, I suppose, as a reaction, just turned around and slapped the person behind her. Inez wrote that only after she had slapped Riyo did she realize who she had slapped, that she had slapped the woman whose title she is trying to take over, and she immediately reportedly apologized. Riyo, of course, being the graceful being that she is, accepted the apology, but apparently, allegedly stated that Miss Egypt should be more careful and not slap anyone, regardless of who they are. The next one I know a lot of people don't know about. I know this. It's about Miss South Africa 1968 and her very scandalous evening gown for the time. Monica Fairall was actually Miss Hibiscus Queen, which was the organization that held the license for Miss Universe in South Africa, like 30 whole years before the Miss South Africa organization actually took over the Miss Universe license and started sending women to Miss Universe. Monica actually later went on to win Miss South Africa as well, but that was only 3 years later in 1971. At that time, Miss South Africa only sent contestants to Miss World, so Monica actually competed at Miss World as well, where she made the top 15. Unfortunately, she went unplaced at Miss South Africa, but not before we got to see this glorious gown. I suppose it was like her prelims gown. She wore this very scandalous backless dress. Keep in mind, guys, this is 1968. So she wore this dress exposing her entire back. It would have been, if it was just like 2 millimeters shorter, it would have started showing crack, guys. This dress was very scandalous for the time. Of course, later on, I think in the 90s, early 2000s, people started looking back and saying that Monica was actually very ahead of her time for wearing a dress like this. Of course, nowadays, I don't think any of us would really blink an eye at a gown like this, but back in the 60s at Miss Universe, guys, this was very edgy and on the edge. Unfortunately, the queen, the bad bitch, Monica Fairall, has since passed away, but I will forever look back at this gown and how ahead of her time Miss Monica Fairall was. Guys, this next one is really crazy, and this is the story about Elodie Gossuin, who was Miss France 2001. After Elodie had won Miss France, a very satirical newspaper in France, a newspaper that is not really taken that seriously, who published a lot of satire, actually published an article that allegedly exposed Elodie as a man, and talked and spun this whole crazy story about how Elodie is actually transsexual and a cabaret dancer, etc, etc. It was just crazy. But apparently not everybody realized it was satire, and other news outlets picked up this story, or the idea at least, that Elodie was trans as well. I think especially in Puerto Rico there were a bunch of outlets that alleged that the stories were true, that Elodie is actually a man because she has very large hands and a scar on her forehead, which apparently indicated that she had undergone some sort of transitioning surgery. When it came time for Elodie to compete at Miss Universe, this is where the story really picked up in the United States, and the Miss Universe organization actually they fed into this a little bit, allegedly telling Elodie to either withdraw from the competition or to undergo a gynecological examination, allegedly in front of cameras. Luckily for Elodie, although she was shocked at all of these things, seeing her in a swimsuit multiple times and seeing how comfortable she was, seeing everything, people later on, especially at the organizational staff, things like that, they later on accepted that she was who she said she was. She was a born female, as it was requested you be at the time, and she did show them her birth certificate, trying to appease them, showing that she was assigned female at birth and things like that. And people who actually worked close up with her in her swimsuit and things like that said that, well, they saw nothing suspicious. Having seen her body nearly naked multiple times, they concluded that she was in fact female. Lastly, the last thing that I think people forgot about was that there were some very hard rumors that Olivia Culpo was actually pregnant at the time that she gave away her crown to the new Miss Universe 2013. Olivia was dating Nick Jonas at the time. They dated from like 2013 to 2015, I believe. And some people were alleging that she was 6 weeks pregnant when giving away her crown at Miss Universe 2013. And I think what really made the story pick up was the fact that Missology, which is a very well respected website and news outlets when it comes to the pageant world, actually said that a very reliable source had told them this information, that Olivia was pregnant when giving away her title. What fed into this even more was when she was wearing this $1 million swimsuit. She had this thing wrapped around her, sort of, people say, in an attempt to hide her belly. Although when you're 6 weeks pregnant, okay, maybe, because Olivia is really like, she's fit and stuff, so maybe you could see it. But for the most part, when someone is 6 weeks pregnant, it would be mostly undetectable. She could probably just say that she was a bit bloated or whatever. So there's no way to tell whether or not she was actually pregnant. And obviously no baby has resulted from Olivia Culpo and Nick Jonas, and it's been like 9 years. But, you know, it's always possible that she could have been and then something happened. I'm not going to speculate. Let me know what you guys think. This was a really crazy rumor, and I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know, did you know any of these things? You guys, some of you guys probably know about the things that have happened more recently, but let me know what you guys think. Did I miss anything out? I am planning on doing like a part 2 of this, because there are plenty of things to talk about, crazy stuff that happens at Miss Universe all the time that we all just forget about. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.